That was start. I did the 3, 2, 1. You don't say the 1 or the start. You just
No, don't you watch Wayne's World? It's 5, 4, 3. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the reaction phase right here on Hometown TCG. You guys know me. My name is Josh, and I am here with...
And I'm Garth. Welcome to Wayne's World. Wayne's World. Excellent.
Sure, demonetize it because it's not on your channel. No big deal.
You want to do Wayne's World quotes the entire episode? Because we can do it. If it's a severed head, I'm going to be very disappointed.
It's okay. I'm going to be very upset. Anyway, welcome back to the reaction phase.
Let us know in the comment section which one it is.
No, I'm 100% correct.
I'm pretty sure I'm going to be very disappointed.
No, I'm going to be very upset. And do you want to know how I know this before I get through the introduction? Is Wayne's World was my high school makeout movie, and I worked at a game store, so I didn't do much making out, and I did a lot of watching Wayne's World, dude.
I was going to say, Wayne's World was my high school movie, but I was never making out during it.
That's why. That is why. So we are here with the reaction phase, and we wanted to, for those of you looking for the episode,
I was itching my head. Come on, keep going.
We got 45 minutes. For the episode yesterday, which is coming out today, because we wanted to wait for the banned and restricted announcement to drop so we could react right away. It is a little bit late.
For those of you who were waiting for a good podcast today, that is also not happening, and what you're getting is our third recording of the reaction phase.
Well, we
lied to you. We did record before the banned and restricted announcement, and that recording died. And then we were like, no, we'll just do an episode and we'll say that it was after. But then we just recorded an hour and 45-minute podcast, and we said that was too long. So now it's 1:30 a.m. This podcast is not going to get edited. It's going to be 45 minutes, and Josh is going to post it raw. I didn't tell you this, but I'm not editing tonight. So
I 100% do not mind. Speaking of that, you can find this podcast on YouTube. You can find this podcast on Apple Podcast and Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts, because we are currently the best Tuesday morning podcast that will discuss the banned and restricted announcement that you're currently listening to right now. And this awesome podcast is brought to you by MinMax Games. Visit minmaxgames.com for all of your flesh and blood products and singles needs. It's cool to finally have a sponsor, but let's get into it. What are we talking about today?
All three times you haven't missed the sponsor.
Dude, I know where my bread is buttered. Like, what are you talking about?
Gosh.
When I go into MinMax Games, I call Pete Daddy too. Like, what do you want?
Oh my gosh. All right.
What are we talking about today?
We're talking about one of the reasons we also decided to redo this is that LSS has changed the banned and restricted announcement 35 times. It's got to be 35 times by this point. And added events.
I think it's like 5, Captain Hyperbole.
So we're gonna talk about the banned and restricted announcement. We're gonna talk about the Magic the Gathering Pro Tour, and then we're going to talk about what's next for FaB. All right, let's get into the banned and restricted announcement, which nothing got banned, but lots of events got added, so things can be banned.
So Classic Constructed, no changes. Blitz, no changes. Events between now and the next banned and restricted announcement, lots of changes.
What is happening?
So let's really quick.
Wait, in the words of Brendan from Arsenal Pass, who the fuck is running this thing?
What did he say? Shout out Brendan from Arsenal Pass, the second best podcast you will listen to.
What did he actually say? He said,
if you follow the moniker second is the best, first is the worst, then this remains true. So this is great.
He posted after the third change. He posted, WTF, who's driving here?
I know it's not me, and I know it's not you, Lewis, but we've got the banned and restricted announcement. And before we get into the spiciness of the banned and restricted announcement, part A, part B, and I don't know how, there's a million parts. We talked about the notion of possibilities. Like we in our first unrecorded podcast that we'll reference a million times throughout this podcast, we talked about all the possibilities of what could be banned and what wouldn't be banned. And we thought about we might see some bans, but we ended up with nothing.
We both agreed, and we both do agree that nothing should be banned right now. But for what I think is much different reasons than LSS thinks nothing should be banned. We talked about Awakening. We kind of thought that Awakening could be hit. A lot of stuff
That's a
for the community.
low risk, high reward. Maybe it has been pointed out that the winning Starvo list didn't run Awakening. By the way,
Oh, nice.
like yeah.
I said that I think that they should do Oak and Old just from Starvo. I really like the ban from specific heroes. We had a whole lot of conversation about it. We've talked about all this stuff on the
And
podcast
I
before.
said no because I hate erratas. I would rather do anything than errata cards.
But nothing matters. What actually matters is that they banned nothing. And here's kind of the whole article, or the whole ban and restricted announcement kind of has this conversation of uh essentially they're like nothing is banned, and we both like that. I like that a lot better than we made a mistake.
So we were
Just
on the
throwing that
same.
out there. I like
So if
no changes better than we made a mistake. I love it when James White just says everything's great. There's
so
no
yeah,
issues.
if you had
Fab's
to
perfect.
pick, if you had to pick, we effed up or we made. I can't get these glasses to be straight. It's really
It's all right, Harry
bothering me.
Potter.
You would be lucky enough.
I like that
you
you're
love.
covering your scar with your hair too.
You know, I don't want people to know how powerful I am. Yeah, I don't have my straw. Where's the straw?
Okay.
Anyway, I don't want we know that we wanted no changes. We thought this was the right thing to do. And we were both, I think, separately in different parts of the country reading through this announcement, and then probably had our jaws hit the floor at around the same point.
Yeah. So I want to restate this. Both of us didn't want there to be any bans.
Yes.
But
Which,
then
unless you in the
did-
comments wanted there to be bans, in which case we side with you.
and then they were like, there's no bans, but. And the big old but that they did was they added May 2nd to another ban and restricted announcement before the Pro Tour. And this was like they did in my mind, it was like perfect. And then it was like, oh God, it's even worse. And I don't know.
So what he's
Go ahead.
referencing is they said no bans, no bans, no bans across the board for Blitz and Classic Constructed, but there is a footnote in here, and I believe that it the confusion and I guess the concern starts with the line, "It is our intent for the competitive season through the end of April to be played out with no changes to the banned and restricted list, and for Pro Tour New Jersey to be the first major event to tackle a new metagame. As such, we are making no changes to Classic Constructed at this time. The next banned and restricted announcement is scheduled for May 2nd. And we went, huh? And it goes on to say, at which point it's possible that Bravo star of the show will have achieved living legend status. So maybe
Mind you, this was not possible when they have made the article.
we will dig into that, I promise. It is possible that Starvo will have achieved living legend status. It's also possible that he will not, and that he is part of the metagame heading into Pro Tour New Jersey based on the results of the upcoming. It goes on, but the connotation there is no bans at this time. We want this to run through the end of April. However, 11 days before ProQuest, we're going to evaluate, has Starvo living legend out? If not, maybe we'll address it then.
And this is important because the living legend ban announcement is anytime there is a new set or there is a banned and restricted announcement.
Yeah.
So now that there's a banned and restricted announcement, if Starvo does hit living legend, it doesn't have to wait. And this was originally, whatever it would be. So now there's another one. And the very small print that doesn't actually exist, but if you read between the lines of what they're doing is
read between the lines.
If it doesn't hit living legend status, we'll just keep adding events until it does hit living legend status.
So if you want to jump straight there, we can jump past all this. The math when this dropped was the math worked out so that there was not enough events where if Starvo won every event where he was eligible, he would have hit living legend status. Now there was a couple. What?
It would have been 974.
Yeah, so he would have been 974. He would have been 26 points away, meaning that there was no possibility by May 2nd for him to hit living legend. However, they did list some events that made it seem like he could, but upon further inspection, those events were, I think, limited events and Welcome to Wraith Draft and Blitz. Yeah. And I saw a post on the fan page that, like, if Starvo wins this event and it was circled, he really is OP. And the next post was like, this event was Welcome to Wraith Draft. And they're like, if Starvo wins a Welcome to Wraith Draft, he really is OP. Like, he's insane. He's ridiculous.
And then I don't know where they posted it. I just have the article sent to me on my phone, but it's not on the website anywhere. It's not on the articles, but somebody sent me an article that is them adding events, clarifying.
Are you doing the somebody thing when I send you something again?
Was it you? Oh, sorry. I sent it to other people, and sorry. You sent it to me. Somebody sent it to you. You want to credit them?
This is your worst habit. I sent you the Altifox stuff.
Oh, it's right there. I'm also like looking at it. It's right there on the articles.
So to correct for this, it looked like there were battle hardened events added to the calling Krakow. Is it Krakow, right? I'm saying that correctly? And the calling Taiwan.
You're asking right now.
Oh, I'm sorry. Look at my glasses. I'm far more worldly traveled than you are. Yes, it is Krakow. And the calling Taiwan. They added these battle hardened events to these callings. And as such, Starvo can living legend himself now. Suddenly. It's possibility.
I love that they say now have the chance to test their metal in a classic constructed showdown.
So we're gonna say they need better marketing later in this podcast. So it's important that we respect that this is better marketing.
So you can test or what? What are you testing? You can't play the deck. There's gonna be a banner. Anyway,
what do you mean? What are you testing? You're testing. Can we make this hit living legend before the Pro Tour?
All right, let's get back to it because we're a little salty about the changes, the constant changes.
So I don't want to. It's too early for me to dig into my take on this. So I'm gonna hold it deep inside, and I'm gonna wait.
Okay. What is your take on the banned and restricted? We're good with that, right? We both think that that's the right way.
Yeah, you made it clear that we both agree with that, and I was fine with the banned and restricted announcement, and we do differ on the impact of the May 2nd statement, right?
Wait, so can we say why? Can we say why we're okay with it? Because my reasoning to be okay with it is different than yours. You don't think that there's a major problem.
Well, most of the high-level players that I've spoken with make the comment that Starvo's not a major problem in the meta. It's the best deck in the format, yes, but it's not this unstoppable beast. It's not this huge problem that needs to be dealt with. So because the events that we have immediately coming up, banning that could lead to something uncontrollable, something unforeseen, or this ridiculous meta that can't be stopped. If the pro players that are going into these high-level events are essentially co-signing the meta, then I'm okay with co-signing the meta that they're going to play in. I find myself, if they're saying this is what we want, it's easy for me to get behind them and back them. And I also have not been I've been against most bans. I've wanted them to naturally sort themselves out in as many ways as possible. And now we have a weird opportunity for that to happen. So that's the reason I'm okay with the bans. Why are you okay with the bans?
So I think like I don't like bans. Like I just generally don't like it. And I also
feel bad.
I feel like there's a lot of energy that has gone into this season to be like, hey, we're banning things right now. Seems like it's just gonna put things in a tizzy of like, what is the meta? Nobody knows. And I don't particularly think that is what the community feels like FaB is, and I don't feel like that's what they necessarily want. I see a lot of people saying, no, I'm testing, I'm playing, I'm practicing. And it's because of that I didn't want any changes. Now let's transition to those changes seem to be pushed to May 2nd, which is 11 days before the thing, right?
Yeah, there's no direct statement saying like the changes for Starvo or the meta are slotted for this date, but there's connotation there, right? It sure feels like that's the spirit of the announcement.
Well, yeah, I mean, they said it's our intent for the competitive season through the end of April to be played out with no changes,
and then a reevaluation on May 2nd.
Well, they don't even say that. They say and for Pro Tour New Jersey to be the first major event to tackle a new meta game.
So see, I got this wrong in the last podcast, and you slapped me with that fact. You'd think I would have remembered it. Damn it.
Like they should have just been like, look, you can play Bravo until May 2nd because we're banning it May 2nd.
But then, but
I don't know.
but
Like
then why? But then why not ban it now? Because people stop buying Everfest boxes. Like,
I have no clue. But like the
okay,
wording on what they said is
it,
like
it,
we're gonna
yeah,
have a new metagame. The first time you play it is at the Pro Tour New Jersey. So that's now the conversation. And we had a long dialogue of this, and I don't
too
know.
long, too long.
I I think it's unfair. But I also see the value in it of like a competitive player can adapt in 11 days and figure out the meta.
I you we stood on opposite sides of this, and we had would you call it probably a considerably too long conversation?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's why I'm trying
but
to be like this it doesn't. Yeah.
I think the competitive player, I don't sympathize with the notion that it's unfair to shake this up for the competitive player right before the event. And I think the reason is I put these players on such a pedestal and I believe in them to, no matter what the situation is, figure it out and let their skills shine, regardless of any obstacles that are put in their way. Now, I recognize that's an unfair position for me to have. Like to say that of another human being is pretty unfair. But I also think being a pro anything, there's going to be unfair positions you're put in and unfair expectations that you are required to meet because you are the best of us. My concern was like, I don't know, man. It this seems to shake the confidence of like the under that the players underneath that where they're like they're expecting this big announcement and then nothing comes. And that situation right there is fine, right? We're expecting this big announcement, nothing comes. We'll probably complain about it for a day or two or meme it, but then we move on. But we've just pushed it. We've taken the problem, we've pushed it down the road, and now for the next month, that is all the casual player is going to talk about
It's
is
an
what's going to be
announcement
banned
of
on
an
May
announcement.
2nd.
Yeah, it's an
What?
announcement of an announcement.
Right. What's going to be banned on May
Yeah.
2nd? What's going to be, and that's gonna keep the casual player from either taking that next. It's going to give them another reason mentally, a mental blockage, not to either not take that next step to be competitive, or give them a reason to be like, this feels. I gotta wait another month. Do I buy Starvo? Do I not buy Starvo? Do I buy Prism? What if Prism's invalidated because now Starvo's not a thing? Like, what do they do? Right?
Yeah, and I mean it took us a long way. It takes a long way to get through this to be like I feel like if you're a player who's planning to play on Pro Tour,
Yep.
you have to just say Bravo's not going to be here.
Mhm.
And then say if they give you 11 days of saying Bravo is going to be there, you have at least already planned and practiced currently for Bravo. You can just take your build.
Right.
I I don't think like I matter. Like I'm not like the
I agree.
competitive. I haven't put the time into practicing the meta and to all that. This feels to me though like if the we just had the NCAA tournament March Madness, these teams have been playing for a whole season, and now you've got the semifinals and whatever, and Duke can't make the free throw, and now you're in the finals and they're like, hey guys, by the way, we're going to be using basketballs that aren't quite inflated anymore, and the rim size is going to be slightly different. And so good luck. If you're really good at basketball, it won't matter, you'll be fine.
You'll figure it out. Or
You'll figure it
they
out.
give you 2 weeks to like here's the new equipment,
Yeah, the best
figure it out.
basketball players will figure it out.
Yeah.
Um, and
But
that's what it
anyone
feels like to me.
striving to be one of those best basketball players now has a new reason not to.
Yeah, and that's what it feels like to me. And like, I don't know if that's fine. If I was the NCAA basketball player, I'd be like, I've been practicing a lot. This kind of sucks for me. And I think like the key difference is I know there's other games that do this. Like there are games, and Magic did this for a while, and they changed this. They went away from this model, but Magic for a long time would have like these big banner restricted stuff before the um before the big tour. I can't remember, was it Magic or was it another game that used to release sets before the major gameplay, and then like the pro players would then figure out the meta in 2 weeks, and then the
Mhm.
casual players kind of looked at what they did basically.
Right. They
I
they'd set the tone and the rest of the community would follow suit.
Yeah, I can't remember what game it was, but that's what they would do. So like, and then there's other TCGs, right? Like MetaZoo is doing this whole weird thing where like you show up and you don't even know what you don't even know what
The fourth wall
the
effects,
fourth wall
the like
effects are
the
going to
weird
be.
yeah.
You there's different rooms, and different rooms have fourth wall effects, and you have to build your deck. You have to like basically have all the cards and build your deck based on whatever those are going to do. I forget what format they call it,
So
but
so
like
you're you're saying this is it's not uncommon for other TCGs to throw like a wrinkle into like the tournament season. And you're saying this could be Fab's wrinkle.
but I'm saying those things can be good. I have acclaimed some of those things, right? Like I
Right.
think other people too have acclaimed the whatever that game was that kind of put it
Right,
right
right,
before.
right. Yes.
But the difference is we didn't know that that was what Fab is, and I think that's a lot of the frustration from the community is like they didn't know that there was going to be this 11-day window. You know what I mean? Like we didn't know that Fab was going to do that idea where they're changing up things, or in this case, like we've seen, like if you take history, Fab prevents things from getting living legend as a result of it being too powerful, and now
Right.
we're like adding events to make it easier to get living legend for this thing. Like it seems like a complete opposite, like a flip.
Right. It
And
and
that's
it
where it's
feels like
frustrating.
if that was your goal, right? Let's put ourselves in let's not be unfair. Let's put ourselves in LSS's shoes.
I wasn't being unfair.
And our goal is no, I'm not saying you were. I'm saying let's avoid being
Let's
unfair in the future.
continue to not be unfair. Yeah, I
Yes,
agree.
yes. You are perfectly fair and you're so pretty. My
Thank you.
goodness, look at those
Been
eyes.
working on my eyelashes.
Is this a tangent? Because they
No,
look great.
keep
Um,
keep going. 45 minutes.
it's not happening. We can dream all we want. If that's oh, I forgot what I was gonna say. If that's LSS's goal is to like living legend this thing out, then why not just today on April 4th say, you know what? We want Starvo Living Legend out. And for that reason, as of May 2nd, Starvo's banned. Like,
Yeah. Mm.
just be like, starting May 2nd, Starvo is banned. Starvo will not be eligible for the Pro Tour. The May 2nd announcement will be a banning of Starvo. So get your Starvo in now while you can.
Until then,
Right.
see if you can get it to hit living legend.
Yeah. And then be like, he has an opportunity to be the first living legend community. What do you think?
Yeah.
Right. And I mean, the Flesh and Blood community is known to like meme. I think they'd get behind that and be like, guys, we're getting this to living legend
Mm.
right now before
Yeah.
it's banned. Like it hits living legend May 1st and gets banned May 2nd. Like
Yeah.
why not? That would be funny, right? But if that was their intent, why would you not just ban it? It seems like we're pushing the problem out. So now for the next month, instead of talking about a new set or classic duels or the pro tour meta or the blitz skirmish season, that's the overwhelming the cloud was like over us. We stepped closer to May 2nd and then we just moved the cloud
Yeah.
of bands with us. It feels weird, and for the first time in a long time, I'm unhappy with that like footnote in this decision. I just don't. It just
I don't get
it's
it.
bad taste. Like it's not something I understand, and I'm open to change if I can hear a good reason. Like someone says this is the reason why, and I can go from A to B to C in my mind. I can say, oh, okay. It seems like this was done with a plan. But for the first time, I'm being critical because it seems like it was just like we don't know what to do. We'll talk about it later.
Yeah, like this is one of those things that it feels like it's just different than what we've seen in the past. Like Briar, they were like, "Listen, we don't want Living Legend to affect the heroes this early, and
Yes.
we want to fix the problem before it hits Living Legend. It doesn't like I no longer know what the goal of Living Legend is. I think like Living Legend in a lot of ways creates problems. Like I'm not sure that Living Legend is like a win for LSS. Like they promote it as like this it's promoted as a way to keep the card pool, whatever. And like it seems to be creating these problems in a lot of ways. Like now there's so much pressure to either fix it or it's gonna living legend. I don't know. Even like at the basic model, it says that it exists to support long-term utility of card ownership. And I'm like, yeah, that's true, unless you own a cold foil Bravo. like a
Well,
a
that's
cold foil
we've talked
Star
about
of the
that
Show.
on this podcast. The fact that the thing that can be living legend out is a chase
Yeah,
is
there's no
scary because it
replacing it.
seems to directly conflict the idea of living legend. And let me just say, I'm cool with the idea of living legend in the the way it's being used, or maybe indirectly used, in Bravo Star of the Show. I'm actually cool with the idea of living legend being the banned and restricted pushback, where something is so OP, the community has to deal with it for a while, and then if we can't get a ban in, it's just unplayable at that point. It rotates out. It's a rotation. I'm actually okay with that.
That I'm not. That seems like a terrible
I think it's a
environment for a
great safety
TCG.
net. It's not a safety net I want to have to use.
I'm sick of safety nets.
I know you are, but
I'm
I
sick of
fall a lot and I
the
like to be caught.
conversation. I'm sick of the like I don't know. I'm just sick of it. I'm ready for there not to be broken things. Like
I Me
I
too,
I
but I'm
want to be
okay with a
excited.
safety net in place
I
in for
want
the time being. I'm fine with it.
I want to enjoy playing. Like, I'm sick of that. That's just where
I
I
s
am.
but okay, I think you can definitely still enjoy playing. Every time I play Flesh and Blood, I
It's
have a
called
blast.
commoner. It's called commoner.
I don't think you have to play commoner. You just have to
I
make a
I love it. It's fun.
I
That's what I enjoy.
I
Like, I
think
don't
you can
know.
enjoy Flesh and Blood outside of Commoner, or not. Maybe not you. One can enjoy Flesh and Blood outside of
Sure.
Commoner. I'm not of again, and this is what we started with our whole. We disagreed on the reason why we didn't want to see bans. I think with Starvo being a hero, you can still enjoy playing Flesh and Blood. It is possible. I know because I do it. I do it all the time. Like, so I don't think that's the case. I like the safety net, especially because we are working our way through some game design kinks, right? That we've talked about in the past. And as a person, as a computer person, I don't think we're gonna snap our fingers and it's gonna be fixed. I want us to, but we're not. It's just not how this
Yeah,
works.
I go back to this like the meta, the Crucible War meta seems so much more balanced to me. Like the whole Starvo thing where it's like you're winning, you're winning. Oh, awakening. Oh, I'm dead. You know what I
But
mean?
that's
Like
not a Starvo problem, it's an awakening problem.
I agree. No, I agree. Anyway, long story short, um,
Well, no,
I
give us your final take. Like, what summarize your feelings on this overall announcement for us. Just really quick. I'll do the same. I won't
the,
just put you out to dry.
my overall feelings is that LSS is in a really crappy place as a result of printing Bravo Star of the Show. Like they are in a bad place. There's no right or no matter what happened, this was going to be the dialogue for everyone
Yep.
around this. People were either going to be upset, like we would be upset if they banned things.
Well, that's
We said
exactly
we
it.
don't,
Yeah.
but like I I don't know that they could have won this situation, and I think they know that.
I agree with that. I think that regardless of what was printed on this web page that I'm assuming we're both still looking at right now, or the several various charts that seem to be copy pasted onto the web page as the day went on, it didn't matter what was printed on that page. Somebody somewhere was going to talk about it, complain about it, or praise it, right? It was going to happen. The only issue I have is not even with the pro community, which is weird. You stand on like this is unfair to pros, and me, I'm like, the guy who's more into competitive, I'm like, they'll figure it out. I think it's a weird interaction, and we're gonna talk about why in a couple of minutes here, why we're at a pivotal point in Flesh and Blood. And during this most pivotal moment, this very important time in Flesh and Blood, we've got this weird message to send to our casual or common or even our skirmish, our calling players that don't day two, right? They play their deck, they visit the vendors, they call it, then they battle harden and they hang out with their friends all weekend.
Yeah.
We've got this weird message we're sending to those players, like we're not really sure. And those players who aren't as invested, like I have my deck, I was thinking about a new one, but now I don't know what to do and I can't make that decision for the next month. So I think that's a weird message. And the reason that this is a weird time for that message, is because, I don't know, the largest game in the entire effing universe just dropped a bombshell saying, hey, Flesh and Blood, you do competitive play? Well, guess what? We're doing it too.
You
Surprise.
didn't steal it for the third time, which you should have at least tried. You should have stole it. This is what I think that this was.
So yeah.
This transition, the Magic the Gathering Pro Play. This is the biggest Flesh and Blood news of the year. Magic the Gathering has professional play that is back. The biggest Flesh and Blood news. You heard it right. Like for the first time, Flesh and Blood has competition, and they have people who aren't just flocking from nothing to them. Now there is something that you have to leave, and that Magic is offering a very large prize pool, $500,000, very large prize pool, regional events that are fun, that are supported by game stores and lots of things, and you've got a lot of eyes back on the professional side of their game. You
So,
don't want this,
yeah.
and this is why I was a proponent of no ban. This is
Yeah.
why I'd much rather be like, look, everything's fine. You let Living Legend work it out.
Exactly. It builds that confidence, right? So Magic the Gathering did announce.
Starvo wins the Pro Tour, or the Pro Tour, and like it's gone, and now you don't have that issue.
And honestly, now that I'm thinking about that scenario, I'm playing through that scenario for the first time in my head. It's almost interesting from a Magic the Gathering player standpoint, because all Magic the Gathering players, because that's the situation we're talking about right now. Open competitive in-person play for Magic the Gathering, open competitive in-person play for Flesh and Blood. They are the same in that aspect. They want to achieve the same goal. And you have a player sitting in Magic the Gathering open competitive play, and they're not, let's just say they're not tone deaf to the world around them. They know that Flesh and Blood is a thing. They're hearing people talk about Flesh and Blood. They're maybe third party. So it was at secondhand experiencing the game, like secondhand smoke. Like they're not playing it, but they're experiencing from other people playing it. They then hear about the OP deck. Oh, there's an OP deck in this game. And then the next thing they hear is, oh, there's a system in this game, where they don't dig into the intentions or all the old LSS articles. All this player hears is there was a ridiculous deck, it won too much, and now it's not a ridiculous, it's not a thing anymore.
Yeah.
And all these Magic the Gathering players have the opportunity to go, oh, you mean I don't have to play against old school Affinity for an entire 2 years before something else changes? It works itself out. That's kind of interesting. That could have been an avenue to join the game. Now I feel like all we have with this announcement is an opportunity for exodus. We have someone else saying, hey, we're going to offer the same thing. You and I both believe it's an inferior product. We think Flesh and Blood is a better game.
Much better.
However, it's bigger, it's more consistent, it's tried and true, it's proven, right? It's the Walmart. It's always there, it's always open, it's always available. It's an opportunity for exodus, and that means to me, we're under fire. Yeah. In my opinion, as Flesh and Blood players and as a community and as LSS, maybe not directly or maybe not intentionally, but we're under fire.
Yeah. This is the time that LSS has to have their crap together. And it's not super encouraging that like the ban and restriction announcement comes out and it changes like 3 or 4 times, and events are added, and like it's just like this, the community. I don't care. Listen, again, like for me, this does not. I am not a pro player. I'm only restating things that I hear and I see on the Twitter. I've been on Twitter way too much today. This did not inspire a lot of confidence from like the organizational side of the community for LSS. And like this is the type of stuff that I think that LSS needs to be better at if they are going to compete with pro play, with Magic the Gathering, who has the relationships, who has the capacity, the money, the whatever to do this.
They have the brand. They have you say their name and everybody knows what it is.
Yeah. So time to get our crap together a little bit. Time to clean up and like be as good as we think that we can be. And I think they can do it, and I think they will do it. But it's time to push it. It's the excuses now kind of have to go away. There's been a lot of excuses for Flesh and Blood with overpowered, power creep. There's been a lot of excuses, and like now we need to clean that up.
So, and this is where, dude, we are on weird sides of these things. It's like we did Invasion of the Body Snatchers really quick, because my big takeaway of this is I've seen, in my opinion, like the competitive play scene, I've seen them lean in to this idea of the competitive play, and I've seen them lean into the idea of organized play, high level play, tournament play, which in my mind means that while we've had balance issues in the recent history, that is on top of their priority sheet. That's in my mind. It's like there's no way they can lean all in on competitive play and not have that. And we started this conversation about MTG's Pro Play announcement, both agreeing that the product, playing Flesh and Blood as two old Magic players who still play Magic, right? We still play that game. The experience of playing Flesh and Blood is a better experience. It's a better game. It's more intuitive. It's more fun. You enjoy it more. And at the high level, you get this opportunity for skills to shine. And this is above you and I, but majority of high level players say, I came to this game because it's more skill expressive. I, as a better player, have a more opportunity to win. So my concern actually lies on the market side of things, which is weird. Again, we've gone like this. We have to give people a reason to sit down in that seat behind a
You
Flesh
mean
and Blood deck.
you mean marketing?
Marketing, yes.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
On the marketing side of things, I need to give players a reason to sit down behind a Flesh and Blood deck for the first time and know and get to experience that it's a better product. If we go out there and tell them it's a better product, they will not believe us. Magic the Gathering is tried and true. It's been there forever. I need that marketing department, some kind of draw to pull in as many freaking players in 2022 as humanly possible. I want as many people behind Flesh and Blood decks, and I don't care what level, all the way down to casual level, is behind Flesh and Blood decks as possible, because the more people that sit behind a deck, the more people get the opportunity to realize that even though this game is doing the pro scene, this product is better. It's more fun. You can enjoy it more. You can get more out of it. And if we don't do that, if we don't market that, there's no reason to come to Flesh and Blood for an event over Magic. Because if you don't know that the product is better, you're always going to go to the tried and true.
And what
We
and
need
what you
some
already
way.
have, what you already have money invested in.
It's already there. It's familiar. Yeah.
I had a phone call today with Wizards of the Coast as a store owner, because I'm getting on their their not pro play, but their organized play platform. Like my
Right.
store, I've only done FaB, I've only done MetaZoo. I haven't really leaned into the regular card games, and like now it's time for me to do kind of everything. So
Yeah.
I just dragging my feet. So I had a phone call with them, and I was baffled. I was baffled. They don't care at all what event you play. They don't care. They don't they don't care what level event, what what rec, whatever, the different levels of competitive play. They don't care what if you're playing Commander. They don't care if you're playing Pauper. They don't care if you're playing on webcam. They don't care if you're organizing events for webcam or in person. They don't care. You get 1 point, they call it a ticket, for every person at your event, whether that event be in person, online. It can be on Magic Arena. It can be on that Magic the Gathering Online, which uses Windows 95. It can use. Oh, we're doing it again. You're gonna shove again. It uses, and like my point, that's hilarious that you have it. It's the new version of Microsoft Windows 98. But my
Sealed.
point here is like Magic the Gathering cares that the only thing they care about is that you are playing and engaging with their game.
Mhm.
I did not realize that. I did not realize. I've been so worked up. I've been so into Flesh and Blood. And I felt like something was missing. LSS seems to only care that you play what they want you to play in the art, like armories, like stores are limited to 4 armories a month. Prize support, so all that prize support for your tickets go into the same pool. Doesn't matter what kind of event you run, and that's the number of support packs for prize support that you get. Basically,
Mhm.
it's all derived from that number. And like I think like if LSS wants to get serious about casual play, LSS needs to get serious that like every person who cares about, who wants to play in their game, whether that be webcam or in person or blitz or in a skirmish or in a armory event or in a casual commoner event or an ultimate pit fight event, those people matter and there's something for them in terms of like they count for this prize support kind of thing. And maybe that's not super fair because like as a story, you can run your armory event however you want, right?
As
Like,
any yeah, I was gonna say your store can choose to run their armory event, the format, like whatever format they want, right? But outside of that weekly, the one weekly armory,
yeah,
like there's how many times, and this is a product of Magic being a larger player pool, right? But like at a local game store, man, you can almost go in any night and find people playing Commander or find people
yeah.
playing Modern. You probably don't find people playing Standard, but in the upcoming months, you're gonna find people playing Pioneer. You best believe it.
Well, and I think that where it comes back to again is that marketing. You don't see like listen, we all
Like,
the content
think
creators.
about F&M. You just mentioned marketing. Think about, like, the phrase Friday Night Magic.
Yeah,
Like, that as a TCG enthusiast, that phrase means something to you. When was the last time you went to an F&M?
it's been a while for me to go to one,
Or
but yeah,
it's been over probably a decade for me, but the
that's
phrase
not true.
FN
I went to the Kamigawa pre-release. That was a Friday Night Magic.
oh, it's actually pretty sweet, dude.
Yeah.
But, like, that
Other
phrase
than that, other than that,
other than that, that phrase invokes like a feeling in you. It's like,
yeah,
oh, I'm walking in, I know what to expect. I need something like that for Flesh and Blood. I need like I don't know, Friday night. You can't do Friday night Fab. I always wanted to do Friday night Fab, but every game store was like, no, I have F and M. Like
yeah.
I can't do Fab on Fridays. I do
Listen,
Magic on Fridays. Like
I think the armories are a little bit like that. Like I think the armory event is a little bit like that. But here's what I want to say. Like we all the content creators did so much content around Commoner. You didn't?
I did not a damn thing.
All the comment all the content creators that matter did all sorts
Care
of
about
content
Commoner at
around
all.
Commoner. And Ellis is basically like just kind of they never did anything with it. Like I think like they don't do any marketing for anything that's not their major skirmish or
Sure.
um
I've been
and,
kind of a whiny brat though, and so I want to challenge you. And in challenging you, no, I'm not just challenging you, I'm challenging myself. Here. I'm leaning into LSS needs to do this. LSS needs to do that. Couldn't we just do something at the local game store level? Like, couldn't your game like I know I okay, and this is not a plug. It's just the store I know. MinMax does 2 events a week.
hey
And
everyone,
one
hey Peter, make sure you send him an extra $30, man.
I
He mentioned you twice.
I'm gonna kick you in the shin like as hard as I can. But they do 2 events a week and they only get 1 armory kit, right? So they're supporting that second event somehow. And it's they have like a CC hardcore night and then they have like a more open night of Flesh and Blood. And that's interesting. So at what point do we decide we care about the game so much that regardless of what if LSS makes what you and I deem to be a positive decision or a negative decision to push this agenda, do we just say, ah, screw it, we're gonna find a way to push the agenda? Now, I agree it's gonna be way more difficult without that like open and aggressive support, but it can be done.
Well, this is keep in mind what I'm saying here is that in order for Magic to combat this, in order, I mean, I guess we're moving on to like the next, what's next for Fab.
God, this is gonna
Um,
suck to edit.
I'm not editing; it's up there. I put it in there. To move on to like what's next for Fab is like they need to start marketing the casual play. They need to start encouraging and supporting and marketing the casual play because now there's a major competition for what you offer, which is the professional play. And so
Mhm.
now you have to offer the whole package. You have to start marketing it. And we've talked about this a lot, but like at these events, like it needs to be really honed in, that there's good, fun, casual events that are exciting. And this will be the question, is like, can FaB be casual? Like, you know it. You hear it right here. Imagine a format where you and your 4 friends are hanging
Oh
out,
my
having a great
god.
time, fighting some sort of environment, some sort of thing together, and there's a commonality in a fight. And an LGS has a reason to host an event because that's the only place that you and your 3 friends can get the promo for beating the LGS store owner in the environment. And I think like the PvE player versus environment thing is a huge, like, it's something that nobody else is offering, and it's a unique thing that's easily marketable. I think it's huge. So like they need something that pushes them over the edge and the casual side, if they're gonna be, if they're gonna be Magic, if they're gonna be competing with this game.
Hot take. PvE is not it.
All right,
We
come up
I
with a
think
better solution.
I think PvE is I actually answered a question about casual flesh and blood today, and I mentioned the Discord earlier, and I already forgot what it is. And wow, don't be more bored with my take there.
Dude, it's 2:30. I'm tired.
I was invited through the Legion Realms at War Discord. I was invited to a content creator, Vetflix and Chills. Really good guy, always talking to the
Super
Discord.
cool guy.
Yeah, super cool guy. And he invited me to his Discord, and there's people asking flesh and blood questions. And the consensus in his limited flesh and blood community was like, I try this game, but I one of two things. I feel like I build a deck and the deck does, or I have a hero deck, and the deck doesn't play in a style that I want to play in. And then the other problem is I come up against a person I just meet at the LGS to play FaB, and I get absolutely just run over. Like
Yeah.
just it's not even close and nowhere near fun. So I presented the idea that casual flesh and blood, we're outside of talking about pro play. We're talking about what's next. And we agree that we want to see just thousands of people playing casual flesh and blood. That should be the
Sure.
next goal. But casual flesh and blood has to be approached much like Commander, like MTG Commander in these senses. The deck is built around your hero, which is like your commander, which means you have to pick a hero based on how you want to play. A blue-black commander, you can just throw any blue-black cards into, but you're going to want those cards to synergize with whatever ability your commander has on it. And then second of all, you have to do a power level check in casual flesh and blood. You have to, whether it's a power level scale, whatever it is, you can't flesh and blood because it's so skill intensive and the
I agree.
variance is lessened. You can't play a low level flesh and blood deck against a high level flesh and blood deck and have a good play experience. You have to have those two conversations and those have to be normalized. So there's got to be something out there that brings all of those things together so we can start building casual play. Because right now, if we just said play casually, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
It doesn't work. You have to have some kind of road to success to build casually. So something has to happen. And regardless of how you want to do it, we both agree that's what's next is just thousands of people playing flesh and blood at any opportunity they get, armory or not.
I think if you dumb down the game, I think if you like, if you go to commoner, the game is dumbed down as a result of not, the pro players aren't figuring out the meta, and there's no net deck. I mean, there's net deck, but not like the top tier deck. Like, I think
Right.
that level can be really fun and really casual.
Mhm.
Um, I
I
think
can agree
one
with
of the
that.
problems that FaB has, and this is my opinion, I disagree with you on the commander side of things. One of the problems that
You
FaB
can be wrong.
has is the limited card pool. So you
Sure.
can't really mix up the deck play that much. I mean, you can
I like
obviously do
Druid
different.
if
I
you played
agree.
like 3 ways.
I agree that you can do the power. You have to have the power level conversation. I agree with
Mhm.
that, but I don't agree that you can mix up the deck enough to like really have the same commander-esque experience where like you could run a Marin. Marin's what is it? It's green
I
black
The
command, like
point is you
death.
could say anything right now, it doesn't matter. You
Yeah,
could play it multiple ways.
yeah, fine. You could run a uh Urza commander one way, and I could run it a much different way,
Sure.
completely different, because there's 400 billion different magic cards.
There's 29 years of card pool there. Sure. That
And
that's fair.
that's what inherently makes it a fun, casual environment. For FaB, they need to create something that can compete with that without 29 years of card bases if they want to compete in a casual level.
And
That's
dude,
my opinion.
that's a big ass challenge. And we sit here, we understand this is a big ask. We're not sitting here be like, hey, LSS, snap your fingers and make it happen. Like
I
this is
get,
a huge,
yeah,
huge challenge that's going to undergo a lot of trial and error and probably tons of failure. Like that's
lots of
going to
different
happen.
lots of different environments for those players to play against.
We so disagree on that. And we both agree that it would be fun, but Arch Enemy was so much fun and it never took off.
They
There's
just didn't
something
market
there.
it. They didn't market it.
And we're going to market it better.
Listen, if Arch Enemy came out with Welcome to Spark, you would still be
War of the
playing Arch
Spark.
Enemy. Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
Welcome to Spark.
It's well, oh my god, you're just both games. That's awesome.
Do you remember the video trailer for War of Spark?
I don't actually.
I remember where I was when I saw that. Like, and I'm not being facetious. I remember I was at work. I can tell you the room I was at the church I worked at. Like, I remember the first time I saw that video. It's the first time I went to a pre-release.
That's pretty impressive. And it's more impressive considering how old you are, because today is your birthday, dude. Happy birthday, Louis. Everyone in the comment section below, wish this man a happy birthday.
You're a day
And
late.
I'm surprised
You're also a day late.
as he
It's the
gets
third time.
this, well, we record this 3 times. So as he gets this old, he can remember these things. It's a very impressive. Let's make sure he knows he's loved before he can't do YouTube videos or figure out how his computer works anymore.
It better say happy belated birthday because you're a day late, people.
I hope it doesn't say happy birthday so he can come back and read the comments next year. Happy birthday, dude. And for your birthday present, I want to give you the opportunity. I know I normally kind of dominate this conversation, but I want to give you the opportunity to take lead as we transition into the market section of the podcast. What are you thinking about the market? And do all the announcements and everything we've talked about up to this point affect the market at all?
Sorry, that's a different thing that I was going to go to first. Yeah, I mean
Good. Happy birthday.
the communication issue, I think, I think it's an interesting one for FaB. Like, LSS has to get their communication in suit a little bit to have the confidence, but that's not that big of a deal. There's two things I think that the conversations are going to be on the market. 98% of that is going to be what Rudy said about Monarch this week, but the other 2% of that is that they they changed the
Oh, yeah.
numbers. They changed the numbers of publicized boxes for WTR and Arcane First Edition. So Alpha and First Edition Arc. They added, so originally it was booster packs and it was 400,000 packs, and they changed it to boxes. And in doing so, they added 800 packs, which was like 33 boxes to the mix, which is just like one of those, like, it doesn't actually matter. It's not, like, I don't think it's going to affect the market
Yeah,
or
you're
anything
only
like that.
adding 33 boxes to the pool, but it leans into the conversation
I
we were
mean, like,
having earlier about
who doesn't
about communication and marketing, right?
who doesn't have 33 boxes of alpha just sitting in a corner somewhere? You know what I mean? Like, it's like,
Twist the knife, dude. Twist it.
I don't. I have one box of alpha. Anyway, I just think it's like one of those things that, like, in a world where there's like so little confidence from things, to have like a shift in the numbers that were presented seems like weird to me. But all right, moving on, based on those numbers, Rudy's been pumping Monarch, being like, he's like, we're gonna get print run numbers this week. He said that in a video. So, like, I guess we're getting print run numbers this week.
The
Or
man's no
Rudy,
than I am. That's for sure.
or Rudy's just like, F it, I'm just gonna announce it.
I'm just gonna
See,
say it, and if they
it's
don't,
like,
it's gonna look bad because I'm Rudy. Gosh darn it!
it's not even like, I looked it up. It's like not even the release date. Like May 7th was
You
the
said May
release date
7th. Yeah.
of Monarch. So, like, it's not even the release date. Um, so he seems to think like, at under 100,000 boxes, we see an increase. I don't know if I buy it. I don't know. I particularly think there's 75,000 boxes. I've said this since day one. Nothing's
Mhm.
changed in my mind. I think the what from a perspective of a community has changed, not my perspective. I've been on this boat the whole time, is the number of people who are interested in the game. Um, like I would say the 75,000 box number that I said a long time ago was derived from like double printing from Crucible, which kind of makes sense. And
Mhm.
like people got crazy with the print run numbers because they think the boxes are cheap. They're like, there must be a million boxes, but like the other side of that is like maybe there's just not as many collectors and players as you think there are.
Right. And we've talked about the collector player number on this podcast. I think we had a kind of a spicy take. You gave, I actually listened to this portion of an episode earlier because I want to make sure I remembered what I said. You said 50,000, and then I didn't want to say because my theorized number was half of that. Like, so I was like,
Yeah.
I don't want to sound like the negative one. You can keep wearing that mantle. I'm out.
I
But
was doing the positive person thing too. I'm like 50,000 is still a lot of people.
yeah.
Um,
So, which by the way, for that, those are, we said this during those podcasts, those are fine numbers. But the question becomes, if Monarch is this printed and the numbers are 75,000, so it's less than what is expected, Monarch's just at the value that it's at. Like, it's everyone who wants a position in Monarch has a position in Monarch. So when that announcement comes out, there won't be this massive spike in price because people just they don't want a position in the product. And I firmly believe I talked in a video this week about the MTG announcement being an opportunity for exodus. You call it the back door, I call it an opportunity for exodus. And the the Monarch moment when everyone bought in was an opportunity for entrance, and then when prices tanked, that was an opportunity for exodus, and we lost people over that. I think there's some bad taste in people's mouths that the Monarch market will suffer from for some time,
yeah,
like
I agree.
just because like that happened.
So one of two things is going to happen, in my opinion.
Okay,
I guess there's three scenarios.
one of two things is going to happen. Is any of them the banned and restricted announcement where nothing happens?
No.
Oh, okay. I
What
figured I'd ask.
one of three things. There's three scenarios. I see one of two things happening.
Okay.
Three scenarios are this:
Hmm.
Monarch print run numbers are under 100,000, boxes double. They go to $300, $400, right?
Okay.
Scenario two is Monarch print run number is sorry, let me back up. This is all based on Monarch being half at 75,000.
Sure.
Scenario two is Monarch print run um doubles and then crashes back down to where it is over time because there's nobody at the top to buy.
Okay.
Scenario number three is that nothing happens. Like the print run comes out and nothing happens.
And nothing happens.
I think the first scenario is hard. Like if you are somebody who's willing to pay $300 for a box of Monarch,
You're definitely today willing to pay 150 or
why would
whatever
you
it is.
not be
Yeah.
buying at 150?
Right.
And like the answer is that the print run, like okay, the Crucible Unlimited print run is certainly less than the any other print run of any unlimited product, yet it's sitting at like 75, $80. Like no one is like hardcore, like print runs just don't.
Yeah.
I think we put too much emphasis on the print runs. And then I think like the market's just I don't know. It's weird. It's interesting. I do think there is something to say about like if it's 75,000, then LSS is respecting numbers for print runs.
Right. And so it shows a level of consistency, which will be cool.
I
That's
never
and
thought
it
that
lets
that
you
was the issue. Like
no,
I
but it in the future it just kind of lets you maybe predict print runs. It's just cool to be able to see that pattern.
Yeah, but like I never feel like that's like I feel like the issue with Monarch was the lack of accountability at a distribution level, the lack of accountability at a store level. You had
Sure.
the three,
Channel Shop Live.
Channel Fireball, Card Shop Live. I mean, even other partner stores that whatever
We're
uh,
holding the product, trying to get
manage.
rich.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like it's distribution. I know distributors who sent out Monarch like 3 or 4 or 5 months ago.
I still get a ping notification to my email from these stores every once in a while. I'll be like, this week only, Monarch First Edition. I'm like, from where?
Right,
The
but
hell?
like like it's just like all these weird things that like product was held like I think that Monarch's issue was the player base plateaued. and everybody had boxes, and like that was Monarch's issue, in my opinion, is that we had a plateau in player base.
It's a good take. I definitely don't think you're wrong. I just next week in the market update, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to expose to you one of my weaknesses right now. Are you ready? I'm going to expose this to the elements. I love Tales of Aria. I think it's just a fantastic set. I think it's gorgeous. So I need you to do your best Rudying, and I need you to start pumping Tales of Aria. So I have a reason. So I have a reason to open it on my channel. Who doesn't do box opening? Just to open a set I really like.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I need you to start talking about how undervalued Tales of Aria is and how great it is. And if you can do that for me, that'd be great.
Okay, let me tell you how undervalued Tales of Aria is.
Wow, right now, live?
Yeah,
Ladies and gentlemen, the man himself getting into the numbers, crunching them, throwing calculus right in front of your face.
Okay. Wait, they have over 3,333 boxes. Let me try 5,555 boxes. Nope. All right. That didn't work out. They have 484 boxes currently on Card Shop Live at map. So get through those map boxes at $79. Yeah, that's map for Tales of Aria. Let's get through those map boxes, and then we can talk about, is Tales of Aria undervalued?
I didn't ask you to break my heart. I asked you to help me out. All right, this has been a cool market conversation. I didn't say much, but I believe that the market, the Flesh and Blood, it requires a coexistence of players and collectors / investors. Like that symbiotic relationship must maintain. So I'm always interested in these conversations because as someone who, just like you, who loves the game this much, I think both ends have to be healthy for us to continue to move forward. So it's interesting insight. But it's time to move to the closing crazy comments section. Now, we only did this once. We talked about there being an outtake to this podcast, but we've only done this one once. Do you have a closing crazy comment comment?
I have a closing crazy comment collection statement for the closing crazy comment selection.
Is it selection? I thought it was collection. I thought we did the whole thing like it was. I don't know.
All right. Mine was Deuce Fim. I don't know what I gained from listening to you guys, but I enjoy it. Love it. Did I tell everybody where they can find the outtakes of this episode? The other two versions?
I have. Can you find them?
Yeah, you can find them on your OnlyFans.
That's where I play with cold foils with no protection. That is not the outtakes. You undersold my OnlyFans.
I was gonna say that it was on my Patreon, but I didn't want to actually pump my Patreon. I'm trying to.
Why not? Your Patreon's great. If you're subscribed to my Patreon,
I'm closing my Patreon.
Okay. Cold take.
I'm closing.
Hot take. No, you're not.
I'm closing the $5 tier soon.
Hot take. No, you're not.
I'm gonna do it just on a whim. I'm not telling anybody.
Hot take. No, you're not.
There's gonna be a different tier. It's gonna be not $5.
Hot take. No, you're not.
Okay. Continue. I'm trying to delay here for your comment.
I have mine picked. I thought you were just talking.
Let's go. I got nothing.
My comment is my prediction. Josh himself will be banned for being too much of an absolute stud. Now, that was not a comment on our reaction face video. It's a comment I got today, and I just want to live vicariously through it for a moment. Someone on the internet said something nice to me.
I love that you're pumping your other content on our podcast.
I was talking about a comment that's called me a stud.
Oh, that's all right. Hey, let me help you out. I'm gonna help you out real quick. Real talk. I'm gonna really help you out. Everyone, this episode was sponsored by MinMax Games FaB. This is the new sponsor for Hometown TCG. Very important. Very, very good.
A little bit of jealousy in your voice. I kind of like it. Kind of like your bit of jealousy.
My
actual closing crazy comment section was from Clark Jensen. It says, "This is the best Monday morning FaB podcast in the world." And I picked this one because it's Tuesday again. We're making a habit of coming out after Monday.
I can't remember if you said that at the beginning of this episode or at the end of the time when we recorded, but I feel like it was the beginning of this episode. I think we double said that. Anyway,
this has been an awesome podcast. Dude, thank you so much for your time every week. It's 2:30. You should go to bed.
I'm tired. Hope you guys have yourself a fantastic day. Josh, I always enjoy talking to you. It's been
I always
great.
enjoy talking to you too. And if you could do me a favor.
Can I subscribe to your channel and hit the like button?
No,
I
I was
will.
going to say, can you tell people something to remember to
Oh,
do?
hey, everyone, remember to be kind to the people around you and subscribe to Josh's channel and hit the like button and go buy your singles at MinMax.
And until next time, my name is Josh, and you've been kicked off your own podcast. Goodbye. Cut.